Hey, it's Matt and Cheryl from We're in the Rockies, and I am so excited for today because today we are at Disney World. And our hope is by the end of this video, we are going to give you the information that you need to plan your trip to Walt Disney World and have a great time. We've been spending the week here and we've had a wonderful time as a family, and we're hoping that you'll have the information you need by the end of this video.
Okay, so let me show you the agenda here on what we're going to cover, because this is kind of a long video and we want to show you all the things that we'll cover in this video. So take a look at that list there. There's a lot to know when you visit Disney World. Now, we have learned a lot of this through research and then some through experience. And so we're just trying to simplify this for you to make it easy. And this is really meant not to cover, even though we're covering a lot here, we're not covering every single thing in great detail. We're giving you a nice overview of the concepts to think about when you plan a vacation. Okay, first thing is the Walt Disney World overview. There are 4 theme parks in Disney World. You have Magic Kingdom, which is the most like Disneyland. That's what you think of. There's Cinderella's castle and all that. And I'm explaining this for beginners because I had to learn all this stuff for the first time. I was quite a beginner in planning our trip here. I really didn't know what there was to do at each park. We had been here about 12 years ago, but I had to really refresh my memory on this stuff. So then there are 3 parks that are really quite close together. There's Epcot, there's Disney's Hollywood Studios, there is Animal Kingdom. Okay, those 3 kind of on the southern end, Magic Kingdom on the northern end. Then there are 2 water parks, Disney's Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon. There's a shopping center, which is Disney Springs right here. And then down south here, there's ESPN Wide World of Sports. The whole thing is massive. There are over 25 hotels that are just Disney hotels, part of the Disney Resort. It's 40 square miles. It's bigger than...
It's the size of San Francisco.
Size of San Francisco. Twice as big as Manhattan.
Disney World is its own city. When they built Disneyland, they realized we're losing out on a lot of opportunity to earn some money here. They only have 3 hotels at Disneyland that they own, but here they kind of have a little monopoly. It's its own community. And
they bought up all the land, and when they were building it, it was the state of Florida just let them turn it into their own city, so they didn't have to go through all these government regulations. So it is really, as we put here, it's very different than Disneyland.
And I'd say crazy. A lot more complicated to plan because of that.
More to consider.
Yes, more to consider.
So, okay, first question we put up here is, how much is this trip going to cost me? And the answer is a lot. It's Disney, so everything costs a lot of money.
Yeah, Matt says it's an expensive world after all.
That's right. So we have a little chart here that we want to show you. Let's just break it down. Don't get too overwhelmed by this, but we wanted to just show you a comparison here. I've put for 1 week for a family of 4, what it might cost you. And we have kind of a low-end option and a high end, and even the high end is not a real no. High end. This is more like, low end is like
staying off property in maybe a VRBO or an Airbnb or a hotel, where the high end is it's a Disney hotel. Even though the Disney hotels are actually tiered, this one is based off of the lowest tier of a value resort. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of a good and bad that Disney does have different tiers of hotels. But just know that if it's a Disney hotel, you're going to be paying a bit of a premium, although it may not be as bad of a deal as you would think.
Yeah, so here's how we broke it down. So a hotel off resort would cost maybe around $500 for a week. Obviously, you can find, these prices are going to vary a little bit, but these are the ballpark things here. Transportation, you have to consider a rental car, $200 for a rental car, $100 of parking at the parks. Okay, so you're gonna have to pay to park at the resort each day.
And it's $25 a day. We just figured you'd go to each of the parks once, and so that's where we came up with that $100.
Yep. Also, with that, you might have to pay to park at your hotel. Okay, or you might even have to pay resort fees at your hotel, depending on where you stay. So that can vary quite a bit. The tickets, about $2,000 for this is about $500 per person. So this is maybe like 5 days in the parks. Okay, this is a 5-day ticket. It costs around $2,000 for a family of 4, so about $500 per person total. And so the reason why we put the total here is because that totals up to around $2,800. But then you still have to consider food and airfare beyond that, which those can be big variables, and I'll show why.
Big variables. Yep.
Yeah, I'll show why we put that second here in just a minute. But let's go over to the high end. I'm going to use a different color here. Let's go over to the high end, what you might pay if you're staying at a Disney resort. You're going to pay a lot more for your hotel at around $1,400.
And that's for just a typical room, not a suite.
Okay, not a suite.
Not a suite.
And again, this is like, we'll cover this in a little bit, but there's different levels of hotels at the Disney resorts. This is kind of a lower end, okay, hotel. Okay, the nice thing here though, you don't have to pay for transportation. You get free transportation to the parks and from the airport for the time being. Cover that more later, but right now, no cost of transportation. That can help even things out. Tickets, of course, are going to be the same, right?
Same price. And then grand total $3,400 when you add those up. Now, when you look at food, I believe that Disney, it's kind of like a movie theater. They always say the movie theaters don't make that much money on the price of their show tickets, but they rake it in on their concessions, and I believe that Disney has a similar price model. And because there's not any grocery stores on the Disney World property, you have to eat the food that is here. Unless you order it out, like you can either go to a grocery store with your own car and purchase your stuff, or you can use a grocery delivery service and have food delivered to your hotel room and that's a good option if you have a fridge and a microwave. You can do some of your own food. But if you look at, so when you look at this chart, the $400 for food, that's assuming that you eat all of your meals in your room and you buy groceries from a grocery store. The $1,500 is assuming that you eat all of your food at the Disney World Resort or the Disney parks at a counter service restaurant. That's the lowest tier of food. Generally, those meals are $15 and under, but you can tell that 3 meals a day times 4 people, $15 each, it adds up. Children's meals might range around $7 or $8, but food can really become quite expensive, as well as snacks. A bottle of water in Disney World costs $3.50, and it's not uncommon for just a pretzel to be $6. So consider that as you're making your plans, that the expensive food could be a significant portion of your trip expenses.
Now I forget, can't you buy a food plan if you're staying on resort?
You can buy a food plan. From the research I've done, that doesn't save you money. It's more of a convenience. But some people prefer to do that. And on occasion, a food plan is part of a Disney vacation package if they're offering that kind of deal. And if that is part of a deal that you see come up, that would be a good one to snatch.
And how much are those typically? Do you remember? Okay, so the bottom line here is that you can see with food a huge difference between kind of the low end and the high end. You might not be on the very, very low end, but you have to plan a food strategy is our point here, and that can really vary the cost of the vacation, whether you're staying off resort or on resort. And then of course the airfare, that just would be from wherever you're traveling from, but generally tickets to Orlando probably pretty inexpensive. But that's not going to play into the overall cost. So we're looking at the difference of around $600 between staying on resort or off resort. And then you can, if you're like us, if you're going to stay on resort, you can save some money through the food or by planning your food a little bit better. Okay, sound good?
All right. So when to go to Disney World? Obviously, it's open year-round, and there's perks to going at any time of the year. In the summer, they have the longest hours where you can get into the park around 8 and it closes at midnight in many of these parks. But you're also going to be dealing with crowds, and it's hurricane season. Also, something to know about Disney World is it's a rainy place. Be prepared for possibility of moisture and rain anytime you go.
Yeah, no, we don't have experience with all these, but generally during the summer, you're going to have the longer park hours, but it's going to be hot and crowded. We have always avoided, whenever we go to Disneyland or Disney World, it is, to us, not worth it to go during a crowded time. You can check online for these, what's the optimal week to go. But to my opinion, not worth it to go during the crowded times.
We love looking at Undercover Tourist. They have so many good resources about crowd calendars, itineraries, things like that. So, I mean, you can find some good information online, but Undercover Tourist is one of my faves to look at.
Fall has Halloween stuff, which is great. We've done that at Disneyland. Winter has Christmas stuff, very popular.
Yeah, they decorate. They really do a good job decorating these parks. It's pretty incredible. And if you wanted to go during Halloween, I would recommend going in September as soon as those decorations go up before the crowds start coming.
Spring has, here at Disney World, Epcot festivals, which they have like a big food festival.
Like a food and wine.
Food and wine, and which is really popular for a lot of people. Right now they have...
they're having like kind of an art one.
art festivals. So yeah, if you're into that sort of stuff, kind of plan your trip around that.
Yes, but this is where it would be really helpful to get together with a travel agent, just because everyone plans a different type of trip to Disney World, whether they're wanting to see shows or do festivals or they're into the food or the rides, and someone that has a lot of experience with that can kind of direct you on a good time for you to go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, weather. I mean, the weather in Florida is really good year round.
We'll put a chart up for you to see what it's like.
Yes, and for people in Florida, it's kind of cold right now in January, but for us from Utah,
the West.
from the Rocky Mountains, it's great. Okay, prices. The point here on the prices is that they do fluctuate based on the travel season, right?
Yeah, so of course we know that hotels do fluctuate, but the tickets are tiered also. You can get on the Disneyland or the Disney World website and click on the calendar on the days that you're wanting to go, and it'll tell you how much your ticket will be that day. And it can range by $40 or $50 actually. So something to consider. I mean, sometimes you don't have a lot of choice because of school schedules or work schedules, but if you can work out a time where it's not very crowded, you're going to get on more rides and you're going to pay less.
Good, and then the crowds. Consider that the crowds. I've already mentioned that, but we'll put many links in the description here. And then I want to say, I apologize for some of the background noise here, but we're shooting this during COVID, and we really can only take our masks off in this location right here. So we're doing the best we can, but we don't want to shoot this with our masks on.
All right, so the next one, how long to visit for? I'd say a minimum of 1 week. There's 4 big parks to go to. You're going to want to spend 1 day in each of those parks. You're going to want probably a day to recoup. These are amazing, fantastic days, but they're tiring. You are on your feet a lot. In fact, every day I've kind of checked. I've done 20,000 steps every day. And we had Disney transportation. I wasn't even having to walk to and from a parking lot, and 20,000 steps every day.
Mm-hmm.
And but there are some incredible things to do around here besides Disney World.
Yeah, so at least one day for each park. You might want to do a water park as well, depending on when you're visiting. And then these other activities, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, you can visit the beach. That's about 2 hours away, an hour and a half away, something like that. The Kennedy Space Center, and then we put on there to consider a down day. So we did 6 nights, 5 days, 6 nights. But about a week is...
Yeah,
okay.
And if you're staying on a resort property, there's fun things to do just hanging out at your hotel. Like our kids are loving playing at this awesome pool right now. And they're going to do an activity tonight with the hotel. They're going to make some tie-dye shirts.
Perfect. Okay, when to make reservations? I'll let you handle this one because you did most of this stuff on your...
Okay, I would say as soon as possible. I would say 6 to 9 months in advance, and let me tell you why. Disney offers promotions all the time, different promotions, and Disney is great in that if a better deal comes up while after you've made your reservation, they're going to honor that. But if you go through a travel agent like Getaway Today that we love to use, I had the most incredible thing happen. I booked our trip in September, and then when December came up, I got an email saying that the price of my package had gone down, and I was getting it was all of a sudden $465 cheaper than it was going to be because Disney was offering a new promotion. They automatically applied that to my thing, and I wasn't having to watch for that. So if you book in advance and you want to watch the prices yourself, or if you want to have a travel agent watch them for you like Getaway Today, there's a good chance that you're going to get a better deal. If another deal comes out and it's more, that your price isn't going to go up. The only time they adjust is if it goes down. And as we mentioned before, sometimes dining plans can be part of a package. Sometimes the hotels will be cheaper, or maybe they'll add an extra couple days to your tickets. I've seen Disney do all of these things actually as I've been watching to plan my trip. So you're going to want to book as early as possible for that reason.
When she told me she's using a travel agent, and I was like, how much is this going to cost? And she said, it actually saves us money. I thought, really? So
yeah,
there's literally, I can think of no reason not to use a travel agent for Disney World.
All right, and we'll explain it later too about how that works.
Yep. Okay, now next thing is lodging and transportation, and I've put these together for a reason because they really kind of they go hand in hand when you're planning out your costs for this thing. So let's just talk about staying off-site. If you're not staying on a Disney World resort, you could do a hotel or a VRBO or an Airbnb. They're going to be cheaper, as we mentioned earlier, but you have to consider transportation to and from the airport, which for us, family of 6, to take like an Uber or a Lyft from the airport would have cost probably $100 or more, which would have been almost cheaper just to rent a car for the week, that alone, you know. So there's transportation to and from the airport. There's transportation to and from Disney World every day. So you're going to have to either take the hotel shuttle, which when we were looking at it, the shuttle wasn't going to get us there in time for the park opening. I thought, well, that's kind of crazy. Or you're going to have to drive your car, your rental car, and park each day. So the parking is $25 a day at each park. Or you'd have to take a Lyft or an Uber. Again, sorry for the background noise. You have to take a Lyft or an Uber, which is going to rack up the costs. So anyway, definitely you're going to be spending a lot of money on transportation. So I've covered the car rental or Lyft. And then I've covered parking, which is $25 a day at Disney, at the Disney park that you visit. But also you may have to park, or you may have to pay to park at your hotel each day just to have a car, right? So that can really swing hundreds of dollars depending on kind of how your hotel works and stuff. Also to consider that because the Disney Resort is huge, Disney World is huge, and it's its own city, you're staying quite a ways off or away from the parks typically. So you're going to be having a half-hour drive or something like that, 20-minute drive just to get to the park each day.
And then when you get there in park, you have about a 10 or 15-minute walk or transportation system to get into the park, where the Disney World transportation will drop you off right at the front gate. So it does save you some time and some extra walking. So there are some definite benefits to staying on site.
Yeah, but off-site, okay, there's what you need to think about off-site. It's going to be cheaper, but then there's some other costs that do add up, okay? Staying at the Disney Resort Hotel. Okay,
so I'm going to be honest, this is the first time we've ever stayed at a Disney World hotel because I've always thought it was going to be too expensive.
We thought we weren't Disney material.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we thought we weren't resort material.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm going to be honest. This trip cost us over $7,400. This was an expensive trip. We're a family of 6 and bought 5-day passes, and we were staying in a Disney World resort. We are staying at a value one, the Art of Animation, which we have loved, and it has been, though, quite a bit more expensive. My parents are also with us, and they chose to not stay on property. They like to rent a car and have kind of their own thing, and we'll do a little video comparing which is a better experience. But we've stayed off property lots of times and have loved it. We've been loving staying on property because of the amazing transportation. It's been so simple just to get wherever we needed to go. And the theming is so fun. We love our cars room and just the fun atmosphere of walking around. I can say one thing that's really cool about this Disney World resort is they have lifeguards at all the pools, and they're so vigilant. They are here, like right now, our kids are really the only people in the pool, and that lifeguard is watching our kids.
Well, and the customer service is great. So if you have a problem, you just call them. They really will send somebody out right away to take care of what you got going on there. So they're really they really work with you very well. But so the point here is that there are 4 levels of Disney Resort hotels. So I thought we're not resort material. This is way too expensive for what we want to do. But there are different levels. So we're staying at a value one right now. You can see behind us is this Cars theme, which is the Art of Animation. This is a value resort, right?
Yep. And something that Art of Animation and value resorts, they're kind of geared towards families. So they have the more kiddie theming. Our room's a car room. They do not have hot tubs, which is kind of a bummer. You have to go up to a deluxe to get a hot tub at Disney. But but yeah, the pools we have amazing, incredible pools. They have family activities on the lawns. It's interesting, in Florida, I've noticed most places, whether they're on-site or off-site, don't serve breakfast. And so that, to me, like not getting breakfast is kind of a costly thing because you're having to provide your own breakfast. And if you're going out to eat, that could be $60 easily for our family. But
yeah, so where a lot of hotels might give you a continental breakfast or something, this doesn't.
Yes.
But breakfast is a cheap meal. You can get some donuts and some cereal from the grocery store or whatever, and it's not that much.
Yes, but some of the perks that come with the parks are you get extra magic hours. That could be an hour before the park opens or an hour after the park opens. And in fact, that is available to Disney Springs guests as well. But that's a great thing. You can reserve your fast passes 60 days in advance for the parks you're going to, where everyone else that window is 30 days. And when fast passes are available, it's really important that you have your A game on. It can really make or break your trip. Matt's parents went to Disney World a few years ago and had never heard of fast passes, and they hated it.
They had a miserable time.
It was they I don't think they'll ever come back because they would stand in line for a super long time and watch all these people go past them. And so it's very important that you understand how a fast pass works, and having that early access to getting fast passes to the rides you really need them for is a huge benefit.
Okay, so those are the perks of staying at a Disney resort, that you get the extra hours and earlier fast passes, right?
Yeah.
You get the free transportation. Now you actually do get free transportation even if you're staying off resort, but you have to park there and then you can get around, so you're having to pay for the parking. But if you stay at the Disney resort, you're getting shuttles to all the parks. You can take the monorail, Skyliner. Depending on what resort you stay at, you'll have different options for the transportation. And then the Magical Express is free transportation from the airport to the Disney resort, but we literally just before this video, just the other day, we found out that's going to be eliminated in 2022.
Yeah, but
So
overall,
that'll add to the cost, though. That'll be a bit of a...
Yeah.
I will say that was one of the reasons why I chose to stay here is, again, I mentioned it would cost about $100 just one way for an Uber. Mm-hmm. And so we would have been getting a rental car. I don't know, it might have changed our decision.
Yeah. But when I did the math for our family of 6, staying at the Value Resort, we figured it cost us $600 more to stay here than it would have had we stayed off-site. And to us, this time, we feel like it's worth it for us.
Yeah, so which option is best is going to be up to you. But we decided to choose staying at the Art of Animation. Our kids are really into cars. We're kind of a Cars family. We thought that'd be fun. It was in January, so just after Christmas, we kind of justified the extra $600 or so as kind of we'll just cut back on Christmas and put it towards the trip. The cost difference was smaller than we thought, so I was like, hey, I'm open to this. I don't have to worry about driving around, renting a car, dealing with all that stuff. Let's try staying here and just having everything taken care of. And so for us, I think it's been a win, and I think Cheryl's parents who are with us wish they would have stayed here. I kind of think they wish they would have stayed here. They had a little problem with their rental car,
mm-hmm.
and
their VRBO a little bit.
And their VRBO, and they, I think they wish they would have had the nice transportation of the Skyliner. So anyway, obviously you'll have to decide. But for us, I think we like our choice.
Yes, I can say though that they've been able to get in the parks early, just like us. They had a strategy. They bought a Ride Max Pass. It's a program that'll tell you which rides to go to, and one of the tips is when to come in and park, and they've done great. And we've stayed off property lots of times and had fabulous trips. I liked it for this one. I liked it for Disney World. Disneyland, I'm probably a little more open to staying off property, but at Disney World, I'm really glad I stayed on property. But I also wanted to mention that I've had many discussions with my travel agent, because Florida is across the country for me. I don't come to Disney World that often, and I read blogs, I watch videos. I mean, I've become a student of Disney. Trust me, over the last couple months, I've been studying because I wanted this trip to be good, because it's really expensive. But my travel agent was incredible. I asked her what the size of the fridge was in the Art of Animation, and she knew I could fit a 2-gallon jug of milk in there. Mm-hmm. So they're visiting these often, and what I really like about the company Getaway Today is their agents don't work on commission. So it doesn't matter to them which hotel you choose. They'll recommend good ones off property, good ones on property. You just kind of tell them your situation, what you're into, what you're looking for, and they'll find a good match for you. And they will get you the best price. I'll just quickly give a spoiler alert, but how this agency works is they have to buy our tickets straight through Disney. They're not a third-party vendor like some other places you'll see. They're a travel agency, so they'll pay sticker price for Disney tickets, but Disney will give them a 10% of whatever you spend on your tickets to them. When what they do with that 10% is they push some of that back to you. So all of our Disney tickets were $10 cheaper than if I would have bought them directly from Disney. So that's how those agencies are able to do that. This isn't some little lowbrow operation. Getaway Today's been they've been in business for 31 years, and we've booked multiple trips through them. With camping, well, you know us, we like to make our own guides because we feel like we can do that and we have a lot to offer. But with this, honestly, the best thing I can offer you is to go through Getaway Today. You'll save money and they'll take care of the details of your trip. And right now they offer a free concierge service too, where they'll book your fast passes, your dining reservations, and your hotel, and answer any questions you have.
Wonderful. Okay, transportation is our next topic here. Now I'm going to do a whole video that really breaks down the maps and how to get from place to place. But it's really too big to it's too big to break down because there's so many resorts, and so the transportation. The point here is that there are a lot of options. So there's the Magical Express that goes from the airport to your resort, again ending in 2022. Oops. Okay, shuttles. Every Disney resort you stay at will have a shuttle that goes to the park, to whatever park you want to visit. Okay, so the shuttles connect all the parks. There's always a shuttle option. Now, I used to think for some reason that the monorail circled through all 4 parks. I don't know why I thought that, but the monorail actually only connects Magic Kingdom to Epcot. And then depending on what resort hotel you stay at, it might also connect to your resort hotel. Okay, so again, there's just too many hotels to cover all of them, but the monorail covers those, or goes to those 2 parks. The Skyliner is a pretty new thing that they built, I think, in 2019, which is really popular, and we love it. And so it connects Epcot to Hollywood Studios, those 2 parks, and then again, it'll connect to some resort hotels depending on the ones you stay at. We're staying at Art of Animation, and there is a Skyliner stop here at Art of Animation. So, like tomorrow, we're going to Epcot. We'll catch the Skyliner to Epcot. Yesterday, we went to Hollywood. No, 2 days ago, we went to Hollywood. We caught the Skyliner there. But when we went to Animal Kingdom, we had to take the shuttle. So, depending on where you stay, you're going to have to do a different form of transportation.
And we really haven't had to wait in lines for very long for any of these things. They've been pretty quick. I am blown away with the efficiency of Disney. They really have things really well thought out and good signs, so that if you're a complete noob here, you can just see a sign and follow it. Tells you, oh, here's a shuttle for Art of Animation, and you just walk over there.
Oh, so many shuttles running, so you're not having to wait very long. It's crazy. And then, by the way, when we were coming home from Disney Hollywood Studios, the line for the Skyliner was huge, and it was kind of raining, and we were standing in the rain. So I thought I'd go check out to see if they had a shuttle going, and they did. It was sitting right there, ready to just hop on. And so we hopped on the shuttle and took it back. So there's a variety of options you can use. Just know that you can use any of them. There also is a water option, a ferry that connects Epcot to Hollywood. And then there are a variety of ferry routes that connect different resorts. So we don't have that here where we're staying. I didn't really look into it, but you might have a ferry option depending on where you're staying. We already mentioned parking is $25. So I'll do a whole nother video on transportation. Main point here, just that you'll end up using a variety of methods.
All right, so buying tickets. You can buy directly from Disney, and their website's really easy to use. And one other thing I wanted to mention about booking tickets through Disney is that there is a chat option usually on the right side of your screen. And their agents are so helpful and available, and they will answer any question you have for them. So if you are booking directly through Disney and you have some questions, just use that chat box, and if they don't know the answer, they'll get you with someone that does. There's also third-party vendors that sell tickets. A third-party vendor is kind of like Kayak, Trivago, those types of businesses where they'll buy bulk hotels at a discounted rate and then resell them for a portion higher, and that's how they make their profit. There are third-party Disney ticket vendors. Undercover Tourist is the best one I've seen so far. I really like this company because of how helpful their information is online. They have YouTube videos, they have a website, they have crowd calendars, itineraries. They have a lot of free information out there for you. And then when you go to buy your tickets, I noticed that their tickets were about $21 less than if I bought them directly from Disney. One caveat is, and I read reviews about Undercover, is that since they are a third-party vendor, their e-tickets are non-refundable. If something goes down and you're not able to use them, you're kind of stuck. That's just how it works with that company. But they're a third-party vendor. You can't expect them to roll out the royal carpet and answer all your questions, although they do have people that can help you with that. You can call and talk to them. But that is a good way to save some money, is from a third-party vendor. You should avoid Craigslist, YouTube. Don't ever buy tickets from anything that looks sketchy or half price. There are tons of con artists out there, and I can even say that in one of our trips to the past, we had to meet a black unmarked vehicle in the IHOP parking lot. I was a younger kid, but I mean, there were some sketchy things going on. One thing to know about tickets is they are 100% non-transferable. I think a lot of times that's how con artists will do it. They'll buy a 10-day pass and then try to switch it between multiple parties, and give them a discount, but don't fall into that. Just
Disney's mostly cracked down on that now.
Yes.
The ticket is assigned to the person, and to the
Yes.
person only.
Mm-hmm.
So just avoid Craigslist or eBay.
Yes.
The last thing here is travel agents. This is a little different than a third party, and I think what we would recommend, especially during COVID, is to use a travel agent because you can get a refund. But why don't you cover? You've already kind of covered that, but just.
Yes, a travel agent will walk you through, give you your plans, and there's lots and lots of travel agencies that cover Disney. I'm just talking about the one that I have used and loved. But I think a big perk to the travel agent is that price monitoring that they do, that they'll keep an eye on promotions that Disney's offering, and they'll pass those savings on to you. But no, I mean, unless you're going through a real fancy travel agency, they're already getting their cut from Disney. They're not getting their cut from you of the money they make. It's kind of like a realtor. When you sell a house, they get the seller is always one paying the realtors, the one that represents them and one that represents the buyer. It's kind of like Disneyland. Or Disney World. They'll pay the travel agent for getting someone to book a trip through them. So you're really not out anything going through a travel agent. One other thing I did want to mention though is, if you're thinking about going through a travel agency, one other good things about Getaway Today, and a good thing about the third-party undercover tourist, you can get on their websites and see how much they're charging without having to talk to a person or fill out a bunch of personal information and get a quote. I really like that option because I don't want a bunch of people calling me. So you can find their prices online and then make the call if that's really what you want to do. But yeah, they're very transparent in their deals. But I feel that going through our travel agent saved us $460. Actually, I'd say it was closer to $500 because our tickets were cheaper than Walt Disney World, and their tickets are always less than Walt Disney World.
I have to say I was quite surprised. I thought buying tickets at Disney World would be a very simple thing, and I guess it can be, but using the agent, there's no reason not to use the agent. So, okay, let's talk about food. We've already talked about how expensive food can be and how widely varied it can. The cost can be on that. So you can eat in the park, of course, at these counter service places where you just walk up and order the food. You can do a sit-down restaurant. They have some very fancy, really expensive ones. They have some that are a little more budget-friendly. And you can some do reservations, some don't. There's character dining.
And that's where you're paying for a place where the characters will be there for your kids to see, to interact with. A lot of people really love the character dining. There's a Beauty and the Beast one, and it's just like a French restaurant with Belle. It's really cool. But counter service, and I'd say food is never cheap in Disney, though. Even though the counter service is cheaper, count on between $10 and $15 per entree for adults, about $6 to $8 for a child. Sit-down dining, you're looking at between $25 and $50 for a plate. So you can really rack up the costs on your dining if you're not having a plan. You want to have a plan when you go to Disney World, and food is part of that plan. It's not just what parks you're going to and your reservations, it's what you're going to eat too. And the next thing is groceries. I was so excited about this. You can order groceries delivered right to your Disney World hotel. A lot of Florida residents use a grocer called Garden Grocer, but as I researched that, their prices were fairly steep. I thought, dang, I might as well just eat at Disney World. But after researching it, I decided to go with Instacart, and it went really well. I planned out my menu before we left, and I made my list, and I had that actually ready to go. And then the day that we flew in, my personal shopper was texting me asking which substitutions were okay, and since our plane got delayed, I wasn't here to pick them up, and Disney World just held them for me, and I went down and just picked them up, and I've had groceries for the whole week, and we've eaten all of our breakfasts in our room. We've packed lunch for half the days, and we've eaten half of our dinners. And it's not just about the cost savings. Eating in your hotel room is nice because it's quiet. There is loud and crowd everywhere. It's crowded, it's noisy, and it's so nice to get away from those and just have a little bit of peacefulness in your room and not have the hustle of having to go down and get your food from the cafeteria at your hotel or find a spot in the park to eat.
Okay, so our take was we did a mixture of groceries and eating in the park. We thought the Epcot particularly where you're going around to different countries, is a great day to eat in the park. So we're kind of snacking at each place, at each country as we go around. And then we found a place at Animal Kingdom, the Flame Tree Barbecue, I think it was called. that seemed to have some affordable places and some good dishes, and so we decided to eat at Animal Kingdom that day. And then the other days we packed our own lunch. We packed our own lunch there. I put down the last option, or the last bullet on this PowerPoint, the Disney food blog, because a lot of people, we're not really foodies, and a lot of people are really foodies, or they're really into Disney food, and so there's a lady who's got a whole blog devoted to Disney food. Check that out if you're interested. Okay, the next thing is what to pack.
You'll want to pack in, if you can, pack in your own snacks since they are so expensive and you have to wait in line to get them or order them. Have good shoes. Tennis shoes are great. Bring a disposable poncho. Then you can throw that on before you go on the rapids or Splash Mountain. Keep you nice and dry. Bring a phone charger. So much of Diz is through your phone, and if your phone dies, you're kind of in trouble. So make sure that you've got a good battery charger with you. Bring earplugs. Some of those rides are so loud, and especially if you have a child that's sensitive to noise. We have one of those. He wears earplugs on every ride, and he's a lot happier if he does. Sunscreen, caffeine. Seriously, pack a little caffeine in your bag because you're going to need it.
The days are long. The days can be long.
Around 1 o'clock, you're a little tired, and a little caffeine might help you out.
The snacks are huge for keeping the kids going, and us too probably, but the kids kind of get tired of waiting in line and walking around all day. Food just makes the trip better for the kids.
And bring some gum. Disney won't sell gum. So if you're a gum chewer, they don't sell it because I'm sure they don't love gum in their parks. But you can bring some gum in, and then
camera. Most people bring their phones, but sorry for this the background noise. Again, we're limited here, but anyway, some people are into taking photos and videos and all that, so you want to pack your camera, obviously. Using the app is a huge part of your trip.
Yes, everything goes through your app. It is so important that you download it before you go and get a little familiar with it. It's the My Disney Experience app. And that's where you'll book your fast passes. Remember, if you're staying at the park or like out on the property, you can book it 60 days in advance. And even I've read you want to get up early that day and book it because the good ones will be gone. Because some lines are kind of like, oh, that's not worth my fast pass. But other ones that can be super long, you want to for sure do that. And I'm going to be honest that I'm not an expert on fast passes in Walt Disney World because our trip that we've been on, fast passes aren't an option because we're here during COVID. That's where I would talk to a travel agent about it. Just get some good info on which fast passes you need to get. But the app has maps. You can get directions for where you're trying to go. It'll navigate for you. It'll tell you the wait times for rides.
The map. I don't know that if you're wanting to go from one ride to the next, you can actually click get directions. It'll give you a little walking path there. Now I prefer the paper map and would definitely suggest that as you plan it and use your day. But that is kind of nice for people who don't really know where they are.
Yes. The app is also great. You can add people that aren't in your immediate family to your party, and then when you make reservations for dining or for fast passes, you can get all the same people on the same fast passes so that you're not going back at different times. I love on the app that you can order your food. It's fantastic. You order your food, and it gives you a window to pick it up, and you don't have to wait when you go. You just go pick up your food. It's so well taken care of. You can pay for things with the app. You could supposedly open your hotel room door. Ours didn't work, but
so we just use our tickets. Some people buy the magic bands, but you don't have to buy the magic bands, and we don't see a point to that. I mean, we just use our ticket to open our door. It's not a big deal.
And with fast passes not being available, I could see how the wristband would be awesome for fast passes, but for us, they don't have them. So it's really just a matter of we only have to pull out that ticket to get in the park and to open our hotel room door, and it would have been $15 per person, and it adds up. So we just didn't do it this trip. Yep. Making Star Wars reservations through that app, you do that.
This is for the new Star Wars.
The Rise of the Resistance.
The Rise of the Resistance ride that is so popular there. You have to make a reservation to get on the ride, and you have to do it at a certain time in the morning is when they open up, and they book up literally within seconds.
Yeah.
So
just think,
we tried twice. We tried a couple times. We could not get the tickets.
It's harder to get on Rise of the Resistance than it is to go to Hamilton. Just saying.
Right. Right.
And then the chat. There on your phone is a chat thing. While we were there, Matt lost his backpack for a minute. I was able to get a hold of them and say, hey, look for our backpack. They'll answer any question for you. So take advantage of that app, that chat button, whether you're on your computer, your phone. Use that when you have a question, and someone will help you right away.
Their customer service is really good. Yes. Just a couple of notes here. If you're disabled for accessibility things, I didn't research this heavily, but I did look it up a little bit. Service animals are allowed. Service dogs or service horses, they said. I did not understand what they were talking about there. Small service horses, but anyway, if you have a service dog, that's allowed. If you go up, like if you have somebody in a wheelchair, for example, in your party, you can go up and talk to them, and they'll save your spot in line. So then you can kind of go do other things, and they'll say, come back at a certain point. I don't think they let you just ride onto the ride in front of everybody. They just say, okay, the line's about a half hour, so come back in a half hour, I think is how they do that. The app said, or the online when I looked at it, said they had digital audio tours, which might be real nice for some people who can't enjoy all the rides and things like that as you're going around the park. I have yet to look into it. If I get more information between now and when we publish this video, I'll put it on here. But I'm actually kind of interested in that myself. So then they have other services such as sign language, interpreters. I mean, they had a whole list of services. So they're very, very, very friendly. The point here, they're very friendly as far as if you're disabled or impaired, their accessibility is great. Okay, what to do and how to plan your day. So now we're finally getting to actually visiting the parks and what you're going to do. Now we're going to do more detailed videos on this. So we just want to give you an overview though, because again, if you're like me and we're new to some of this stuff, I just could not remember what was in each park. Magic Kingdom has the most rides, and this is the park that has the Cinderella's Castle and the Fantasyland. It's kind of what you think of when you think of Disneyland or Disney World.
Yep.
Has 19 rides in the park. There are 6 lands. So right when you enter the park, you come into Main Street. That is considered a land. There's not really rides there, but there's a lot of shops and restaurants. And you'll walk down Main Street to the center square, kind of the town square, the town circle. And then from there, it branches out to different lands. So there's Adventureland, which has the big rides there would be Pirates of the Caribbean. The Jungle Cruise.
Now it is okay to take pictures, folks. They do have their thumbs up.
Liberty Square. This is something that was kind of dedicated to Walt. Walt Disney was a real big patriot, loved presidents, so they have and they were building this right as the bicentennial of America, the birth of America was happening in 1976. So they dedicated this whole land kind of to Walt. So they have a Liberty Bell there. They have the Hall of Presidents. The Hall of Presidents was a show, and that was way more amazing than I thought it would be. I thought literally you were just kind of walking through looking at like busts of the presidents. But they have an animatronic for every single president, and they do a whole show. That is really quite a show, I thought. A dedication to presidents. I don't care about your political stamp, your political stand or whatever. This is just a dedication to the presidency, the office of president. It's amazing. But it's a little colonial town, Liberty Square is. And then the Haunted Mansion is also in Liberty Square.
From somewhere beyond, goblins and ghoulies from last Halloween.
Okay, then you move on to Frontierland, and it was designed that way to go kind of to take you through American history. So you're walking through the very beginnings of American history, and then you go to Frontierland, which is as America expanded west out on the frontier. And so they have a lot of kind of old-timey, Frontierland has the big rides there. It has a couple of huge rides. So it has Big Thunder Mountain. And Splash Mountain. Country Bear Jamboree.
That's where you'll spend your time.
Fantasyland it's a small world. Peter Pan ride, kind of geared towards smaller kids. But they do have the big new ride, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Which is really cute and fun. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, the Mad Teacup. Yeah, all those. Tomorrowland is Space Mountain. And you get to drive the cars at Autopia or whatever that's called.
There's Cooper out there. And that had the Carousel of Progress?
Uh-huh.
Which our kids surprisingly liked. Oh, there's one of them right there.
And they had some Toy Story where you get to shoot the guns and stuff like that.
Next one we have is Epcot. Epcot was the second park built in Walt Disney World, and it's basically divided into two sections. There's the Future World that has the test track.
You know how sad he was?
It has Mission to Mars. And then it has, oh, and Spaceship Earth.
Don't know, don't care.
Also brings with it the dawn of great tech life we enjoy today.
And then there's the World Showcase, which highlights multiple countries, and they have Frozen, which is a big new ride, and then Epcot is where people love to go get food and drinks,
And drinks, yep.
and they love it.
So this, there's a bunch of different countries there, kind of little countries that you walk around. This is an interesting park. This was kind of Walt's, really the heart of Walt's vision for Disney World was to have this futuristic city that he called Epcot, which stands for something prototype community of tomorrow. But Walt died before they built the park, and so they were kind of like, what do we do with this if we didn't quite have Walt's vision? So they did build a future world, but then they built this also World Showcase with to kind of take you around to different countries around the world.
Okay. Animal Kingdom. So Animal Kingdom is the largest land mass, although it has the fewest rides. I think it only has 7 or 8 rides, but it's like a really fancy zoo.
It is amazing.
It is something else. We were there yesterday, and Kilimanjaro Safaris is incredible. It's a 20-minute ride where you get to see all sorts of animals that would be on the African savanna, and the way they have it set up, it doesn't look like there's any cages. They just have natural land barriers that keep the animals separated and safe from the tourists and from each other, and you really get to view these animals in a unique way. And they have my very favorite roller coaster of all time, Expedition Everest.
Yep.
So cool.
A really great ride. Now the theming at Animal Kingdom, I think, is among the best of all these parks. It's really amazing. It feels like you're in a jungle, but then it has these different lands. It has Africa, it has Discovery Island, it has Asia, Dino Land USA with the main ride there is Dinosaur. It's called Dinosaur. Asia is where Expedition Everest is located. They have a jungle walk. You can kind of take the Maharaja Jungle Trek. You just walk around and look at these. You see tigers. And just really, really quite an amazing land. We had some monkeys put on a show for us yesterday when we were there. Crazy. And then they have this brand new crazy land, Pandora, the world of Avatar, with 2 rides there. But wow, the theming on that is unreal.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even an Avatar fan, and that was an incredible place.
Oh yeah. We loved waiting in line for the flight of Avatar. What was it called? Flight of Passage.
Yes, Flight of Passage.
Yes. seriously, waiting in line for that is just as cool as riding the ride.
It is amazing. That whole land is incredible. So the theming at Animal Kingdom, I just think is incredible. It doesn't have as many rides, but it's really quite an experience because of all the animals and stuff.
And we're here during COVID, and so I know they have some amazing shows. We just didn't get to see them.
Yeah, we saw a bird show.
Yeah.
But then they have some others.
Yeah. Okay.
Hollywood Studios has 5 lands as well. It feels a little more random and kind of split up. The more recent lands that they've created there are Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which has the what's the ride called? The Millennium Falcon ride?
Oh yeah, Smuggler's Run.
Smuggler's Run.
And Rise of the Resistance are the 2 rides that are there.
Yes, that's right.
Smuggler's Run, you don't need a boarding group to go on. In fact, you can just go into the whole Star Wars land without anything, but you do need a boarding pass to go on Rise of the Resistance. And even if you do get a Rise of the Resistance pass, you'll still have to wait in line to go on it. But
we weren't able to get in the little lottery thing to
we
get on
lost.
the app. So
let me just tell you how difficult this was. We had each opportunity. You have an opportunity at 7 a.m. and you have an opportunity at 1 p.m. that day to make your reservations. We had 5 phones both times. Didn't get in. So we were 0 for 10 on that.
Yeah, we learned some tricks. We'll have to put it in our video on. Again, we're going to do a video about each park and how to visit it and all that. But Star Wars Land is really incredible. Again, the theming is just amazing. Toy Story Land was one of the most fun places we saw so far.
So bright and colorful and creative.
Bright. They have a little ride there called the Slinky Dog Dash that we thought was more kind of a kiddie ride, and it kind of is, but that was a party. That was actually a really fun ride. That was great. So.
Oh yeah, Grandma made us go on that run multiple times. The grandma made us go on it multiple times.
Incredible theming. Those 2 places, the theming is just amazing. Then you get to like Grand Avenue, Sunset Boulevard, Animation Courtyard. They're not really like great themes, but Sunset Boulevard has the Tower of Terror, Twilight Zone Tower of Terror ride.
The Twilight Zone.
It has the Aerosmith Rock and Roller Coaster, which is maybe our favorite ride in the whole park. That thing was awesome.
Well,
goes
because
really fast.
We are generally going to Disneyland, and they said, oh yeah, they called it the Rock and Roller Coaster before they rethemed it as the the Incredicoaster. So we thought, oh yeah, it's just going to be the Incredicoaster. No, this is a dark ride. We had no idea. We're like, why are they keeping this coaster?
Yeah, the 60-mile-an-hour coaster, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
It was great.
It's like Space Mountain on roids. Just saying.
That was fantastic. So the theming on those other places maybe not as amazing. They also have a ride called Mickey and Minnie's Railroad Runaway or something like that.
Runaway Rail.
I should know these names better. But anyway, and that was a great ride too. I really enjoyed that. Super colorful. Hollywood was great. It felt a little more kind of random on how it was laid out and all that, but great rides there. A full day for sure.
And all 4 of these parks are full day parks. You can spend an entire day in each of those parks and still not do everything.
Yes. How to plan your days. So just a basic here on how to plan out your days. So my recommendation here is to study the maps. If you are going to Disney World or Disneyland even, study the maps. Get them. You can get them all online. We'll put links to everything here. I literally pulled them up on my iPad and started marking them up where the rides were because they just have all these numbers. And the numbers don't really indicate. I mean, you have to look at the legend to find out whether it's a restaurant or a ride. They don't really indicate just right there on the map. So I had to go kind of color code the map with what the rides were. And then I just searched for a real basic itinerary. I put 2 here, Undercover Tourist and Disney Tourist Blog. I use the Disney Tourist Blog, but there's these full-time bloggers that just go to the parks every day and they track all this stuff, and they'll give you the most up-to-date itinerary on what to do and kind of the order to do them in. So I plotted the order on my map, and I started just literally writing out the numbers on what order we were going to do these in. And then I had to pay attention to the reasoning. So if they said, well, go on this one early because the crowds are all going over here, so you go over here. Or this one's going to get you wet, so don't go sit a theater room right after you get wet, go outdoors on a walk. I mean, just kind of pay attention to the reasoning as to why they put it that way. And then pay attention to the walking distances. So there was one itinerary that I saw that was like, okay, go here and then go here and then go back here and just crisscrossing across the park. I've got 4 kids. I had no interest in doing that. So I changed that around a little bit. So pay attention to those things. And then I've got there, make your own plan. So make a plan that works for you and your family. And then be flexible with it, because they will change throughout the day for sure, based on either lines or ride closures or any number of things. When your kids get hungry, when they have to go to the bathroom, I mean, any number of things is going to change. So as long as you kind of have just a general game plan though on how to plan out your day or what your day is going to look like, it will really help to relieve the stress. Now we'll kind of talk about it. Like Cheryl will pull up the wait times on the rides, and I'll say, okay, what's the wait time here? Should we go here or here? And then so we're able to do that on the fly, but having a game plan going in was the important part.
Yes, but also the flexibility. Yesterday, there were a couple of monkeys that were so funny to watch at the Animal Kingdom. It was one of the highlights of our day, and we were en route to go to do something else, but we stopped and watched those monkeys, and we laughed, and it was so fun to watch them. So when those opportunities arise, don't be so married to your schedule that you miss out on something really cool.
Cheryl mentioned, so some people are kind of to the T. They really want the most optimal thing. There's a program called Ride Max that you may be interested in.
And we've used it a couple times, and we've liked it.
But and on this trip, it really kind of confirmed that this Disney tourist blog itinerary that I used had the general strategy down. So we used it, but we didn't use it. I mean, it can help if you really want. Like, it'll literally plan your day out to the minute. You enter in what rides you want to go on and when you want to eat lunch and stuff, and it'll plan your day out for you. I still think though it's got to take it with a bit of a grain of salt. You'll have to make changes as you go. Okay. The next topic I put on here is learn the stories behind the park. So I really believe that when you go on vacation, if you understand a little bit of the background behind it, that you'll enjoy it a little bit more. We went on the Walt Disney, there was a little...
The Imagineering story we watched.
The Imagineering story is like not a ride, but like a show about Walt Disney's life.
Oh, wait, I'm thinking about the series we watched.
Sorry. So, well, we did that too. But anyway, just knowing some of the stories behind the place makes it more enjoyable. So, and that's what we want to focus on our channel, is giving you some of these stories. So watch some more of our videos on this. We'll do a lot more stories about Walt and about the parks and things like that.
Right, final takeaways. You guys, you've been with us the whole time. Please give us a like if you've liked this video and found it helpful. But thank you for watching, and we're going to tell you the final takeaways because this part is important. Stay with us through the end. Okay, number 1, we know Disney is expensive. That's the first thing we know.
It's an expensive trip. Yep, you're just going to have to swallow the pill. And if you're going, it's expensive. But having said that, since you're spending a lot of money, plan what you really want to do. Make sure you're getting what you want out of it. I might have mentioned, but when we got here, they had given us a Finding Nemo room instead of a Cars room, which we had requested. And so we did politely ask them, hey, can you get us into a Cars room instead? And they made the change. And I figured, we've got 3 boys, they like cars, we were spending all this money to get here, I really wanted to stay in a Cars room rather than a Nemo room. So just fit it in what you want to do.
But yes, make sure you are planning what you want. If you want to see shows, you make sure you make your schedule about seeing those shows. If it's getting on all the rides that's important to you, maybe purchase Ride Max and find the best way to go about hitting all those rides in the park. But make it your own. Do this vacation how you want to do it. If you want to sit around and eat delicious food all day, do it.
If you want to see the characters.
Yep.
So every trip to Disney, or everybody has a different thing when they go to Disney, a different thing that they want.
And that's where having an agent, a travel agent, comes in so handy, is because you could ask me and Matt about the trip that we would like to go on, and ours would probably be really ride heavy for you, because that's what our family likes to do. But a travel agent knows all those different types of things that people enjoy, and it's no extra cost to you, and in many cases it saves you money, and they'll get you to the places that you want to be and have the experience that you want to have. And Getaway Today is our #1 choice. We love that company, and we'll put their phone number and their link in our description. And if you mention that you heard from us, they might be able to give you a discount. And so we're in the Rockies. Just let them know that we sent you there, and they might hook you up with something.
Yeah, please do mention us. We need to tell you that we could get if you use our links here, we could get a small commission, but our channel is all about helping you travel to these places. We have no interest in giving you bad information.
No.
Okay, so we only are recommending it if we are going to use it and we like it. And again, they save time and money. I can't think of any reason not to use these guys. We put on here, consider a Disney resort, only because, again, it was a little less expensive than I thought it would be initially. So please think about that.
And a lot of perks were included with it. So that's kind of what we liked about it. Have a food strategy. Really, before you go, sit down, write down all the meals you're going to be eating, think about a ballpark amount that you want to spend on your trip on food, and then make your plan from there. I don't feel like we're being miserly or Scroogely, I guess, in Disney terms, on our trip. We're eating out sometimes, but we're eating in sometimes too, and it's been great. And getting groceries delivered to your room is genius. So nice. I love having something to eat and not have to go down to the cafeteria every time I'm hungry.
Yeah, so the point is it can add up a lot, so you need to at least have a game plan there. And then have a park strategy. I just got through talking about how to plan out your days at the parks. It costs a lot of money to go to Disney, so you want to make sure you're getting the most out of the park for what you want to do. And so, gosh, I think that's our whole presentation here finally. Thank you for sticking with us. We really do appreciate it. We really are just trying to help you have the best trip. That's the whole point of our channel. So,
and if you are a Disney pro and have a tip that we've left off or something important that you think other people watching might need to know, leave it in the comments. We are definitely, we're teachers, but we're students too. We are constantly learning, and anyone's advice on good tips is helpful for everyone. So we really appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching this, and we hope that you get to Disney World and have a fantastic trip.
Okay, we'll see you next time.